Call the meeting of the Haywood County Board of Education to order for March 2016. This time I'd like to ask Mr. Jimmy Rogers to lead us in our invocation, immediately followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone please rise.
Let us pray. Kind, gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before you tonight, we pray that you guide and direct us as we make decisions that affect the lives of the children of this county, the parents and the citizens, the staff that work diligently to help educate children in Haywood County. Lord, we pray that your guidance upon us as we do make these decisions. We pray that you help this county to be the best that it can be. We pray that you help our school system every day, Lord, that they can be the best that they can be, and that the children can learn and gain and grow to be the best citizens to this county and to this country and this communities. Lord, guide and direct us. Thank you for our freedom. Thank you for those who are fighting for our freedom in countries. And Lord, we pray that you be with us as we make our everyday walk with you. Guide and direct us, and we give the praise and glory for it all. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Under our announcements this evening, we just want to announce that our next regular board meeting will be held here at the Education Center on April the 18th at 7 p.m. I'd also like to mention that Mr. Jim Francis could not be here this evening. He's not feeling well. He called me this afternoon and asked if he could be excused from the meeting, and I said, please do, because I don't want to have what you've got. So he was nice enough not to bring it to us this evening, and I hope he's feeling better. And Jim, if you're watching at home later on, we're being nice to you, and we're hoping that you feel better. I also have had a request from Miss Jenny Wood for an announcement.
We have our spring bingo on April the 23rd for the foundation, so I've got tickets if you want them, just let me know, I'll put some in front and you can get them there, but it's April 23rd at the Canton Army at 6 o'clock.
Okay, if you couldn't hear what she had to say, it's the Haywood County Schools Foundation is having a bingo night at the Canton Armory on April the 23rd, and she has tickets available, and it's at 6:30 p.m. at the Canton Armory. That's a real nice facility. It's a great time, and if you need tickets, just let us know.
And one more thing, just in case some of you didn't know, at our Mardi Gras fundraiser, at the end of February, we raised $72,000, so we're very excited.
Yeah.
Now that's some fundraising. I remember whenever we were looking to get 20,000, and now it's 72,000. Of course, every time you raise that bar, that means it's ought to be that much more. So anyway, congratulations, and you know who wins on that is the students and scholarships. Very good. Any other board members have any announcements they'd like to make about the school board stuff? Okay. Under agenda adjustments, let's see, under number 16, Ms. Barker has volunteered to take the place of Mark Shepard this evening, and she's going to answer all our in-depth, detailed questions about our policies. No. But anyway, she will present that part of the agenda this evening. And any other agenda adjustments that we need? I think there's a couple items that we will be taken care of under finance, and again, Mr. Jim Francis won't be here. I think he's asked Ms. Milner to present the finance committee reports tonight, and so that will be taken care of by Ms. Milner instead of Mr. Francis. Any other adjustments? Okay, now I'd like to call on Dr. Carol Douglas.
Chairman Francis, board members, Dr. Garrett, it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Gail Heathman from Haywood Soil and Water Conservation. Many of you know her, and she does a lot for Haywood County Schools, and we have lots of awards and recognitions tonight. So Gail?
Thank you so much. It's just a delight to be here, to be among the people that make it possible for us to let kids have fun and learn in different ways. We have a lot of education programs at the district. This concerns our contest, and there are 5 different ones. So each year they have a rotating theme, and this year it was We All Live in a Watershed. So we had posters done by 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We have an essay and slideshow contest, and I want to ask you 6th grade teachers to help us have more participants in that. We had 11 students who did speeches in the 7th and 8th grades, and we had a computer design poster for the 9th grader. We had one of those, so again, let's participate and you can win money. The students can. Anyway, theoretically, from 3rd grade all the way through 9th, every year students could learn a great deal to add to what they're already learning in the classroom. So that's a very important subject, soil and water. Oh gosh, what have I done? Now then. We have to have both to live. So we want our future stewards to step into adulthood being equipped to take care of these very precious resources. So I might add too, we have some scholarships, and participation in some of these activities adds points when the kids get a little bit older. So this year we had 175 entries. And I want to again express my appreciation. I often say teachers are the very important link between the students and us. They're the ones that offer this in their classroom, and I just appreciate them so much. We recognize a special teacher as Conservation Teacher of the Year each year, and I was asked once by a newspaper reporter, how do you determine what teacher? Well, obviously there are teachers who do things that we're not aware of, but the ones we focus on are the ones who say, yes, that sounds like a great thing. I'm going to join you in offering this to my students. Those are the ones that we get to know. So I'll mention that teacher in a few minutes. You already know probably. But let's begin with the 3rd graders. I don't know who may be here, but our first place winner was Ellis Boone of Bethel, Miss Troll's student. And this poster is no longer with us. It's in Raleigh, going to compete on the state level. Because after the district level, the first place competes on the area level, which means other counties. Then they go to Raleigh. And they know us in Raleigh. They know the name Haywood County because they hear it every year. We have smart kids here and good teachers. So the first place winner, and on the area level also Ellis Boone. Maddie Dorlan, also a Bethel student. Miss Miller is the teacher.
If you're here, if you'll come up, Maddie. I don't think Ellis is here.
Maddie.
I think these pictures were just in the paper, and if you go online, you can see more pictures. Yeah. Naomi Caminetti, also, all these were Bethel students, these 3rd graders. Miss Jordan is her teacher. And Lily Warren. Now, there's a name I grew up knowing in Bethel, Warren. And that's Miss Troll's student as well. We pay, the first place students win $50, second $25, third $15, and honorable mention $10, and they also get a trophy. And it's about the same on the area level. Now on the state level, first place winners get $200, so good money. Okay, 4th grade winners were Vincent Lackey, Junaluska Elementary. Miss Prince is the teacher. Mina Tanner, Hazelwood Elementary. Miss Thompson. Walker Fox at Junaluska, Miss Kilgore. And McKenna Coley, also Miss Prince is her teacher, Junaluska. And the 5th graders were Casey Lovelace, Miss Pace, and Clyde Elementary. Jacob Bridges, Miss Pace, Clyde. Scott Lunsford, and again, Clyde, that's Ms. Wells, and he was, I must have these out of order because he was a second place area winner. So he was the first place fifth grade winner and did well on the second in the area as well. And Yulissa Valdez Bodilla, Hazelwood, Ms. Rogers. Okay. It's really rainy tonight. I'm sure a lot of these kids just needed to be home. So, okay, again, sixth graders, I hope they'll be more involved next year. But let's go to the speech contest. It was a long night, and we're working on changes. A lot of speeches that night. But seventh grade, the first place winner at Waynesville Middle was Aaliyah Boyd, and Amy Tiller is her teacher. And on the area level, she won second place. And Molly Dorrigan, she competed last year as a seventh grader, and that's the good thing. If you're a seventh grade contestant next year, you're not nervous, you know what to expect. She was not nervous. So she won first place, area, district, and then second place area. And Jaron Pitaluga was her teacher. Okay. And ninth grade, I hate to run out of Swaim daughters. I've had them for years. Their mother always has them compete. It's wonderful when you get a whole family, and this is the youngest one. But she goes to Tuscola and designed the winning poster. That's computer generated. I just wish I could do it. And it was the area winner and will go on to compete on the state level as well in May. And now our conservation teacher of the year is Tim Shepard. I don't think he is. His older brother Harold won years ago, and I was able to surprise him at awards night because he had students competing, but he had been to ball practice. This is several years ago, and Tim knew, so he was there, but Harold didn't know. Y'all know these are brothers, and I think I embarrassed him because he hadn't changed clothes. So he leaned over and whispered something to me afterward, and I laughed, and one of the men I worked with said, "What did he say?" I said, "He said, I hate you." And he did. But Tim did know. I couldn't surprise him, and he was dressed up, and he was very gracious. And he joined 47 other Envirothon teams last week at the test farm to compete, area Envirothon. And they'll be going to state because they were ranked among the top 7. So we'll be heading to Cedar Rock Park in Burlington to compete against teams from all over the state late next month. So my work's cut out for me and doing anything I can to help prepare them. And I'll just say this and I'll sit down, but we do write a grant and we do get money to pay for transportation and the buses, and I've got 14 motel rooms reserved. I do that every year ahead of time because I know I'm going to have teams. So, and we give each child $20 because we know teachers have a way of having to dig into their own pockets. So Envirothon's a wonderful program, and I'm just grateful for the teachers who always participate. Thank you so much. 3, 2 high school, 1 middle school.
Don't be photobombing over there.
Yep. You guys can just stay here. And Ms. Farrar, you want to come up for this? It's my pleasure to introduce Jack Hogue. He is an exceptional children's teacher at Pisgah High School, and he's also in the National Guard Reserves, and he has a special recognition for us. I'll let you introduce yourself.
This is David Ponder from the Employer Guard Reserve Support Committee, and he's going to submit an award for Miss Barbara West. She was my substitute when I was gone, and before I left, I was gone from October to December for training, and before I left, I was real nervous. I had a few kids that had some poor grades, and I didn't want to leave them, but Barb came in, she took the reins, and the kids ended up having passing grades when I came back. So I just feel that she went above and beyond what is expected of a substitute teacher. She even picked up all of her jobs as a teacher's assistant. She was retired from Pisgah as a teacher's assistant, and she was helping out the EC department just like she left off. So that's why I submitted for her for the award.
I represent the North Carolina Committee for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. It's an all-volunteer organization. We have about 107 members in North Carolina, and our mission, we are a DoD-funded entity, and our mission is to provide support to the units and education to the unit members of our Guard and Reserve so that they know what their responsibilities are under the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. We also educate employers. And then we have ombudsman team that mitigates anytime there's conflicts or issues between employers and our service members. And we also assist with employment of those service members, helping them find employment. Lieutenant Hogue submitted this is called the Patriot Award, and he submitted this for Ms. West. If you'll come on up, I'm gonna let him hand it to you. And this award is submitted for outstanding service or support of our Guard and Reservists.
I would like to say, well, everybody in this room, I guess, is family. But Mr. Hogue, when he told me that he was doing this is one of the most humbling things I've ever had done. Because Mr. Ponder and Mr. Hogue serve our country, and they make sure that we're safe. Mr. Hogue, I've watched him for years. He goes in with the kids, and he loves them, and he encourages them, and he lets them know that anything that they want to do in life, if they just work for it, they can get there. But then at the same time, I guess the reason this is so humbling to me, at the same time, he not only spends that part of the child's life, but he's willing to walk out the door at any minute and go do whatever's necessary, he and Mr. Ponder both, to make sure that the freedom that they have right now, they're still going to have in the future. And I think we need to give them a round of applause.
Next on our agenda, we have Miss Jenny Wood.
Chairman Francis, members of the board, Dr. Garrett, it is my pleasure tonight to recognize Mr. Stephen Paris and Miss Elise Parham from Bethel Middle and Waynesville Middle to recognize some students who received or were a part of the all district jazz band. Is that right? And all district band.
Chairman Francis, board members, Dr. Garrett, on January the 16th, a cold Saturday morning, 11 students from Waynesville Middle School and a student from Bethel Middle School left at 6 a.m. to go down to Cornelius, North Carolina. We had 11 students from Waynesville, the student from Bethel, and we were auditioning for all-region jazz band, which basically means that any middle school student who's in a jazz program at their school is eligible to audition, and it's basically the students from Hayesville all the way east to Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and the western third of the state of North Carolina. So we went down, our students auditioned. We're proud to say that we had 6 students from Waynesville Middle School selected as members of the All-Region Jazz Band, and a student from Bethel Middle School selected as well. Those students represented our county and Haywood County Public Schools at the All-Region Jazz Clinic that was held a while back at Asheville High School with clinicians. We're really proud of them. We're really proud of the fact that we have jazz programs at our school. We have strong music and band programs at all of our schools, and we're very proud of that. And we appreciate your continued support for those programs because it does impact these students' lives tremendously. You know, kids that sometimes have a problem or have an issue finding their niche in their schools, music might be the ticket for them. So we appreciate your support for that. This time we would like to call out the Waynesville Middle School students. First up, we have Robert Super. Let's go down this way. Hold on. Kenan Huskisson. This young man, I need to explain just slightly. This young man auditioned on drums and on guitar. He was just showing out. He made it on both, so he had to choose which one he wanted to do. So he chose to participate on drums. So he's good, but he couldn't play both at once. He's not that good. So this is Mr. Coleman Ammons. Here you go, Coleman. Here's your guitar certificate. Pardon me. Like I say, he was showing out. Also, we have Mr. Luke Mina. We have 2 students who were unable to be with us tonight, Mr. Kevin Wenzel and Mr. Dalton Burley. This time I'll turn it over to Ms. Keene to represent or announce the Bethel Middle School student.
So the student who represented Bethel Middle School was David Rowland.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I ought to play for it. I think I ought to play for it.
I want to say one thing about the band students is what he said was so very true. I was never that athletic. In fact, the only time I ever got to play in a basketball game at Waynesville Middle School, I got the first pass of my career, and I ran from mid-court down there and put it in the basket, but I failed to remember to dribble. But anyway, in my high school career, I was in the Tuscola band, and I just wanted to congratulate these students because music is so important in their lives, and I understand that because there was a few times down there at Tuscola playing football that I'd go home and I'd still be really proud, and I'd walk back in the door and my dad would say, "Well, son, why are you so excited? Tuscola lost tonight." I said, "No, but our band beat their band tonight."
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Garrett, it's my pleasure to introduce Noel Castater. He's the biotechnology teacher at Waynesville Middle School, and he's going to introduce his guest and tell you some information.
Thank you. Chairman Francis, board members, Dr. Garrett, thank you so much for this opportunity to share. We're doing really great things at the Waynesville Middle School with our agriculture department. We just won a $5,000 grant from the North Carolina Tobacco Trust Fund Commission. What we're going to do is we're going to convert our greenhouse into a hydroponics lab to grow year-round heirloom tomatoes, everything, peppers, eggplants, okra, anything. I'd like to introduce Andy Von Cannon from, again, the North Carolina Tobacco Trust Fund Commission.
I'll let you hold the check while I
Yeah.
say a few things. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Andy Von Cannon. I represent the North Carolina Agriculture Education state staff, and we partnered with the North Carolina Tobacco Trust Fund in this grant program. And what it amounts to is 35 of these awards were given across our state, and Waynesville Middle School was selected for the hydroponics program that they're going to implement. In North Carolina, we have over 40,000 students in agriculture in over 300 schools. And these students take courses in agricultural curriculum, horticulture, animal science, ag mechanics, and so on. And this represents a number of careers in agriculture. In North Carolina, the state likes to boast $76 billion of our economy comes from the agriculture industry. And so this grant was sponsored by Tobacco Trust Fund for communities that once historically relied on tobacco production and are looking for alternative ways to support agriculture through education. And so tonight we are pleased to present this $5,000 check for Waynesville Middle School. And we wish you the best and a lot of success, and that we hope that you have a very productive growing season. All right, congratulations. Let's give them a hand.
Congratulations, Mr. Castater and Waynesville Middle School. Now it gives me a great amount of pleasure to recognize one of our board members tonight for an award. It kind of also distresses me because this is the first time that I recall that he's beat me in this category. But anyway, tonight we'd like to recognize Mr. Jimmy Rogers. Jimmy, would you join me down here? This award says the North Carolina School Boards Association Academy for School Boardsmanship presents this award of excellence to Jimmy Rogers, Haywood County, for successful completion of school board training during the 2014-2015 academy year. And if I'm not mistaken, this means over 30 hours of continuing education in the year 2014-2015. And I looked, and Jimmy beat me by several hours this year, but maybe next year, Jimmy. Congratulations, Jimmy. That's what makes it the best. Yeah. Now we'll have our open session where the public has opportunity to address the board. Now is the time period designated by the Board of Education for public comments. This time is set aside for comments from the general public in regard to matters of concern to the public. However, comments addressing specific students and/or personnel are prohibited due to confidentiality laws and regulations. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board requests that all speakers adhere to the time limitation and prohibition against mentioning individual students and personnel. And we have had 2 individuals request to address the board. Have we had anyone else sign up, Ms. King? Okay, so we have 2 individuals. First, the board will recognize Mr. John Wadsworth.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks a lot for letting me come and speak to the board tonight. First, I would like to recognize the efforts of the board to address the budget shortfall by the continuing reduction of students attending Haywood County Public Schools. If my numbers are correct, student population is down approximately 750 students over the last 10 years, which has reduced state and local funding by over $5 million. So you really had a hole to dig yourself out of, and I really appreciate it. I think you've done a good job. The school board has worked diligently to address the funding shortfall. You took a very unpopular stand by announcing the shutdown of an elementary school, and currently the department heads and school board are in the process of reducing spending in the 2016 and 2017 budget year to recognize another potential reduction in the number of students in the school system. However, with all that said, I'm extremely concerned that you are going to face funding shortfalls in the future based on trends showing a continued reduction in the number of students. In addition to the issue of lower funding, we also have 56% of our children on free lunch program, and according to recent comments in the local paper, over 300 homeless students attending our schools in Haywood County. These issues facing our children will not go away. The only solution is for all of Haywood County to pull together to address these issues and implement sound solutions. The first step would be a more cohesive effort between the Haywood County Board of Commissioners and the school board, with a hope that this effort would expand to our community college, churches, industry, and citizens. We must make it clear that children are our number one priority. Unfortunately, there's a lot of uncertainty regarding the economy at a federal and state level to go along with not having a clue as to the student population in the Haywood County schools over the next several years. I think the county and schools should take a very cautious approach to spending for major capital projects until we have a better understanding of the future and a clear path forward by both the commissioners and the school board. As you know, the Haywood County Commissioners are moving forward with a plan to construct an animal rescue shelter for $3.5 million and an EMS emergency management project totaling another $2.3 million. So that's $5.8 million between these two projects. I believe the common sense approach, not typically used in politics, would be to put these projects on hold for at least 1 year until we have a better understanding as to the reduction in student headcounts and corresponding funding. I ask you, looking back, did it make sense to put a new law enforcement center and a jail, an ABC store, a justice center, a remodeled courthouse, and now an animal shelter ahead of our kids? So I hope you can see how our decision today can have a very big impact on the future of our children. I would hope that you would put politics aside and pass a resolution stating that the Haywood County School Board supports a 1-year delay on spending for the animal shelter and the EMS emergency management system. I got one line. Please continue to put our children's best interest ahead of spending for new buildings. Children before buildings. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Wadsworth. Next to address the board, board recognizes Rodney Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
For those of you that know me, I'm very passionate about what I do, and my question for y'all is, and I know it's all rumors at this time in the athletics program, what is going on next year? As far as budget cuts, what as a parent and an assistant coach, what do we have to look forward to in this coming season? Rumors are that athletics, the budget cuts are going to cut, and get this, I am a walk-on assistant coach, not paid, but cuts of assistant coaches, fees raised for athletes for the next year. Can anybody explain to me what's going to happen? As parents and coaches, we'd just like to know what we're stepping into. We don't really want to be blindsided by the next year. Can we come up with a plan of action so we can help support these children that's not going to be able to pay fees for the next year? And what will we be allowed to do? That's my question.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, what we'll do is the questions you ask, we'll direct them back to our administration.
Mm-hmm.
And we have preliminary looked at budgets for next year, and we will share that with the public.
Okay.
Through public information and through the schools.
Okay.
So, and again, we'll communicate that through our administration.
Right.
What to expect and all.
Okay. Is there any timeline of when that will happen?
Well, we generally have our budget passed, I can't remember the exact calendar timeline.
July.
Well, July 1, but we have to have a hearing and all that prior to that. So there's a hearing for the
Right.
budget, which is not unusual. We do that every year. It's in April.
Okay.
Is that right? I need to ask our finance officer. Give me the schedule. Can you remember it off?
It's, the board will have public hearing and vote on the budget at their April board meeting.
Right.
And then we go before the county commissioners on, I believe it's April 14th. Or April the,
And I think there's been some preliminary discussions at the schools, and there'll be continued information disseminated from our central administration.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Feel free to contact us.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. And thank you, Mr. Wadsworth. Next on our agenda are our minutes. Board members, you had an opportunity to look at our closed and regular session minutes from our February 16th, 2016 board meeting. At this time, we entertain a motion that be approved as presented. We have a motion from Mr. Kirkpatrick. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Shandable. Any questions or discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next on our agenda, we have Dr. Carol Douglas.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Garrett, it's my pleasure to present to you the recommendation for graduation dates for your approval for 2016. We have Haywood Community College, is it up there? Yeah. For May 13th at 7:30. That's for Haywood Early College at the Community College. Central Haywood High School at the Community College on Saturday, June 11th at 2 p.m. Tuscola High School, Monday, June 13th at the Ramsey Center at 7 p.m. and Pisgah High School, June 14th at the Ramsey Center at 7 p.m. So I ask for your approval.
Okay. This time we entertain a motion, we approve the proposed graduation dates as presented.
I move we approve them.
We have a motion from Ms. Milner, second from Mr. Rogers. Any question or discussion on the motion? I just say I hope we don't have any more big snows or anything.
Me too. Those are the
Those are
only
the
dates we can get, so
Well, I think that's
we
a
will
good choice.
graduate them and bring them back to school
Graduate
if
and
we
bring
do.
them back.
We've done that.
We've done it
We've
before.
done
Any other questions or comments? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
I think you're up next, Doctor.
I am. Mr. Chairman, board members, and Dr. Garrett, I believe you have before you the summer school plan for 2016. Elementary school, grades 3 through 5, and middle school, grades 6 through 8, have all requested that we offer summer school with remediation and a second administration of the end of grade test for our students. High school has opted not to offer summer school other than credit recovery summer school. And the reason for that is because of DPI guidelines. There's really no benefit to them as a student. It doesn't replace their score or their grade and doesn't improve it for them.
This time we entertain a motion, we approve the summer school program as presented.
So move.
Mr. Kirkpatrick's made the motion. Do I hear a second? Second, Mr. Bobby Rogers. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you,
Thank
Dr. Carroll. Next, we have on our agenda Mr. Todd Trantham.
Mr. Chairman, item number 15 on your agenda is there for your approval. It is the revised boundary lines for Haywood Elementary School and Junaluska Elementary School. What I've got up on the board on your computer screens is a map of that proposed boundary line. Basically, we're taking the old central district and dividing it in half. The easiest way to do that, to make it clear to parents and to also divide proportionally, was to use Russ Avenue up to the point that it meets Walnut Street to the point that it meets North Main Street, and North Main Street and South Main Street until it extends to the edge of the district where it meets the original Hazelwood line, which would almost be at Hazelwood Avenue. It's just this side of Hazelwood Avenue. And so to make that very simple, everything west of that line would then become Hazelwood's district. That's Chestnut Park, Sulphur Springs, Ben Mill Bottoms, and everything to the right of that would then become Junaluska's district, including Nineveh and the Oakdale communities. If you look at that, if you'll scroll down just a little bit from that just to the next page will be fine. This gives you an idea on the chart, just going down to the pie chart at the bottom. This gives you an idea of how that would divide our students. Approximately 12% of those students are going to be out-of-district students, and those students would then go back to their home school, wherever that home school would be, and then follow board policy at that point if they would like to transition. We know some of those students are probably the parents of the children of teachers, or they may have parents that work in that community where travel is a hardship, and they would go back through that process with their home school to apply to go to whatever school they might choose to if they qualify under the board policy. 39% would go to Junaluska, and approximately 50% would go to Hazelwood Elementary School.
Scroll back down just a little bit, please. Thank you.
That gives you the numbers. Let me talk to you a little bit about how we came up with those numbers. Of course, the kindergarten numbers are a guess, and so what we looked at was the first, second, and third grade historical trends for what percentage of those students were actually living on the Hazelwood side of that line versus the number living on the Junaluska side of that line. We'll believe there'll be about 30 students in the kindergarten class that would have come out of the central district, and of that about 60% would go to Hazelwood and about 40% would go to Junaluska. The other grades we moved up, so we basically took a map of the existing kindergartners, first, second, third, and fourth graders, and plotted those on a map, and then counted how many of those students were in the central district, how many of those students were in the Junaluska district, how many of those students were in the Hazelwood district, and how many of them were out of district. We didn't count the existing fifth graders because we're making the assumption those students are going on to middle school.
Neither school will be over 80% capacity, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that would be Hazelwood at about 80?
The Hazelwood would take the larger proportion, so they would be the one, based on our calculations, it would be closer
to 80% full capacity. And then Junaluska is going to be about 79.
I was thinking maybe just a little bit less than 79%.
Okay. I just that was a rough number I recall.
Sure.
Okay. I just want to make that clear that neither school is going to be overcrowded. We've got the capacity, okay?
Junaluska's 78, about 77.9, and Hazelwood's 80.14 with those students.
To be exact. Okay. All right, very good. We need a motion to redraw that line from this board as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Leatherwood's made the motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rogers. Any questions or further discussion on the motion on the floor? I'd just like to say this has been studied, and there's economic reasons to do it this way. There's also transportation reasons to do it this way.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Trantham, for your hard work on that issue. Next, we have, I believe Ms. Jill Barker gets the opportunity to be our policy chair this evening, or policy person tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would like to present policies 4150 and 7100 through 7340 for first reading.
Okay. As per board policy, they'll be tabled for 30 days or until the next regular board meeting.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would also like to present for approval policies 1000 through 6340. excluding policy 6125.
Excluding it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're gonna hold 6125, but do I hear a motion we approve all the other policies as listed with the exception of 6125?
So moved.
Mr. Kirkpatrick's made the motion. I hear a second. Second, Mr. Rogers. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Barr. Did you want to say something about 6125? It's just gone back through? Is that what?
6125, yeah, they had to make some adjustments made to it, and that's why it's gone back for
Back for
further
further
review about administering medicines to students. So a few changes in laws that they're having to go back and review.
Thank you. And thank you, Jimmy, too, for your service on the policy committee and the hard work that they do. It's been very intense for the last couple of years since we signed the contract with the School Board Association to redo it.
But it's a lot nicer.
But it's
a
gonna
whole
be.
lot simpler, and it's continued, updated on a daily basis, so
Very
don't
good.
get behind.
Good deal. Thank you so very much. Again, thank you for your service there. Next on our agenda, we have our report from the Finance Committee, and I'll turn the meeting over to Ms. Milner.
Okay, thank you. We met earlier with the Finance Committee. Ms. Gardner presented all the financial reports, and everything was in order. So I would like to move that we approve the financial reports.
Second.
We have a motion from the Finance Committee by Ms. Milner, a second, Mr. Kirkpatrick, to approve the monthly financial reports as presented. Do I hear any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, and we have two other motions that we need to approve. The Finance Committee would like to move that we approve AT&T's bid for the E-rate services beginning July 2016, and this will be a 3-year contract.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second, Mr. Henson. The chair's been apprised of the fact that Mr. Kirkpatrick will not vote on this since he would be an employee of the corporation that is going to get this contract. So I just want that for the record. Mr. Kirkpatrick will not be voting on this issue. And he didn't vote on it in the Finance Committee either, okay? We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion or questions on the motion?
It will save us a lot of money.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of money. Any other questions or comments? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously with one person being recused from voting. Mr. Kirkpatrick, let the record record that, please.
And then another item, the Finance Committee would like to move that we reclassify 8 transportation employees that are currently being paid out of both local and state funds. By paying these employees fully out of state funds, we can shift approximately $8,000 in local spending to state expense lines.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Milner. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Jimmy. I believe he beats just a bit long. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Anything else further from the Finance Committee?
That's all.
Thank you very much for your service on the Finance Committee and those that serve. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we'll recognize Dr. Ann Garrett for our personnel.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your information, you have 15 separation from employments. You also have 8 leave of absences. For your approval, you have 2 separation from employments, 4 employments, 21 employee status changes, 2 leave of absences, 2 contracted services, 12 substitutes, 6 employee coaches, and 2 volunteer services.
Okay. This time I entertain a motion that we approve the personnel as presented.
So moved.
Ms. Shandle has made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Milner. Any questions or discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett. There being no further business to come before the board, meeting adjourned.